morning, traders. It is 6:49 a.m. Today is the 7th of April. Today's a Tuesday. Greetings from a very cold and wet, rainy San Diego morning. Welcome to my trading journal. This is the Jigsaw day trader platform. These are all futures products. From left to right is the Ultra Bond, then the 30-year. In the middle, it's the 5-year. Second to the right is the 30-year. Excuse me, the 10-year. Keep doing that. And then all the way over in the right is the E-mini S&P. And in a normal market, these have inverse correlations. So when the E-mini is bidding up, when it's rallying, these should all be selling off, and vice versa. So the overnight was pretty much to the sell side. Looks like we're starting to get sellers step up here at this level, so stand by. We just had this huge rally come up after cash open, and I was waiting for it to kind of pull back. I thought we'd get all the way up here to this profile step, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. It looks like it's stalled out here, and it might start selling back down just because we had a bit of an overextended move, and it was just you could tell it was just buyers overwhelming sellers. Damn, should try to get in on this. This is just one of those kind of brute force moves. You could just see the sellers start stacking up on the offer and just start overwhelming buyers. I saw this happen on Friday, or at least I saw it on the chart. You could see it just turns into, it looks like just a waterfall on a 5-minute chart, just a bunch of red bars, and each one is lower lows and higher highs, or vice versa. And as soon as you get any sort of pushback, you just take this thing off, just cover your position. But that's how it went up. You just had buyers overwhelming sellers. This might just be a scratch trade. Kind of lost that momentum that was happening there. But that's how it went up. But I was just getting here and kind of let things develop in my mind before I start taking trades. This momentum definitely faded a little bit. The 5-year's still off for a 24 even, so we'll hang around for a little while longer. So the overnight was just kind of sideways with a lower, just sort of a slumping down, I guess. And you could see where the overnight low was, and then we were actually pushing the lows as cash open happened, and then that's when this thing just shot up. I was hoping this thing would drop in the way it got bought up, which is very rapidly. It's just not quite happening as fast, but it still seems like the sell pressure is there. So as long as the sell pressure is still in place, I'm going to hang in this thing. Might only be a 1 or 2 tick winner, but it is what it is. I think as we get down into the lows here, I think you could expect a little bit more back and forth unless sellers just continue to just pound down on this thing. This is pretty much how it went up, so that's a good indication of you can expect it to come back down on a move like that. At least that's my experience. Just a little more back and forth here, just like I said. Got a big bid here, keep an eye on that one. In fact, if this thing backticks here, I might just try to cover it. Tried to wipe it out and they couldn't quite do it. It went bid almost immediately again. Yeah, I think that's probably where the target should be. Might be lucky to cover at 23. So when you see something like that, or at least when I do, that's kind of an indication that you need to be more, be a little bit more vigilant. Yeah, you're getting a push up in the 30-year and the 5-year. All right, let's cover that. 6 ticks. Could have had 8. I thought about putting target there at 22. But that's fine. Okay, so where was I? So the context, definitely have other time frame players, it seems like, trading today. So areas of interest, obviously the current low. We have this profile step up here. If we get up there, I'd like to see what happens at that point. And then obviously the overnight high if we get all the way back up there. But I think the bias is kind of be to the sell side, simply because you got equities going through the roof again. So that has to just, as a normal practice, I think just put pressure on what's going on over here. But we'll see what happens. You never know. All right, well, I'll go ahead and pause things. Time for some more coffee and just sort of just hang out and kind of watch and see what happens. Like I said, if we get up to 30 up here, profile step, we'll take a look at that. I think you're definitely going to get some sort of back and forth at that level. And then if we dip back in here to the lows, I'll take a look at that again as well. Okay, 7:15 a.m. Still on Tuesday, the 7th of April. This thing dropped in very briefly and then popped right back up. And the ES is just starting to take a real shit. I'm tempted just to kind of buy this thing and hold on tight. I'd really love it to fall in, obviously. Waiting for a bounce in the ES so we can see what kind of response we get over here. If we get a bounce in the ES and this thing can drop in a couple more ticks, I feel a lot more comfortable buying it. If this thing does drop in, I'll restart it, but that's where we're at this point. Okay, that didn't take long. 7:20 a.m. We're back. Keep an eye on 21.5. Got this big bid, obviously, at 21. I'd like to see this thing come down and get tested. Let's see if it's real. It gives us some assurance that if that it can't be taken out too easily. Oh, the Ultra Bond 30 are starting to bid up. They came down into the lows. So this that might have been the little dip that our opportunity. Try to clean all this up so we can see what's going on. Yep, starting to bid back up. This might be paying up a little bit. All right, well, we got filled. Risk is what, 4 ticks? Just kind of level everything out just to see. I want to see, hopefully the Ultra Bond and 30-year continue to bid up. Obviously the 5-year. And then hopefully the ES continues to take a shit. That'd be nice. See if we can get back up to the point of control. Maybe even up to this little shelf here. So right around this little shelf here is where we kind of got pushed back the last couple times that we rose up to this level. So have to keep an eye on that. Got to get through 24 here. So immediately you start to see some pushback. Don't really like that. But we'll give it some more time to see if we can get through it. Don't want to see the 5-year go offer at 24 1/4. Shit. Can't let this thing come all the way back. I think it might be too late to sell 24. Oh, I like that. I'm going to pull that off. I'll pull that target. See if we can push through. Come on, let's get bid at 24. Beautiful. Push through. See this thing start to peel off here. If not, I'll just cover it. Come on, everything's lining up here. Look at the Ultra Bonds off the page. 30 years pushing up, 5 years pushing up. ES is falling in. ES is going to have to make new lows, I think, to get us up through here. Once we get through, like I said, 25 half, I think we got a good shot at 28, 27. This freaking offer here is not easing up at all. You're going to have to take it out. Shit. 100 in the queue. Let's get it. Damn. And 1,100 stacked up there. This is fucking... I had a feeling that was going to happen. Little double bottom in the ES. Sellers are doing a good job of suppressing that little move, though. I want to pull that offer again. I almost got filled. Damn, I should have kept it. Ah! Crap. I'll just take one tick out of that. That sucks. Should have just put the target in at 24. Should have known it wouldn't get through there. I'm kind of asking it to do something it hasn't done the last 2 tries. But it's worth a shot. I'll keep an eye on this down here, but I don't really see a buying opportunity like last time, just because we've definitely had a significant turn in the ES, and that just could give an excuse to push this thing even lower. But I'll keep an eye on it. Okay, I've been sitting here talking to myself for the last 10 minutes. Microphone was not on. But what I was saying is that I went ahead and paid up here at 25 or 21.5 on this surge off the lows. We made new lows by I think maybe one tick, and then I thought this thing was going to blow way up higher. So I went ahead and jumped in. It's been kind of a struggle getting up here to where we're at 23.5, 24. This is where we turned around last time. So obviously I want this thing to push through. It looks like we got some pretty good size on the bid here. Again, like I always say, the more times you test a level, the more opportunity there is for it to break. So we're going to keep an eye out, see, hopefully we can pop through this thing again and get up here towards, there we go. There we see, that's exactly what you want to see. Just take it out. We can get back up here towards this previous high, like 27, 28. Yeah. Go ahead and just set. I'll be happy if we get up to 27.5. Just don't start falling in on me. Yeah, I was a little nervous about this thing at first, just because the push we got off the lows seemed to kind of wane a little bit. Oh, no. All right, if this thing falls in one more, I'll have to pull it off. I'll have to cover it, I think. Should have known after that push. A lot of times when you see like a sweep like that, it typically falls right back in. Now we're getting the ES start to push up too. So I think it's pretty normal. See if the ES hits, once it hits resistance, if it starts to fall back in. See if we can just kind of hold through this. Hold through the pullback. 5-year just went off for a 25. That sucks. Might be time to cover this thing. What I hate to see is this thing stack up with 1200, and then my only option is to cover at 24. Okay. Might have got shaken out of that trade, but that's fine. Okay, at this point, technically, I guess I could short it because we are above the point of control. That's one of my rules, is I can only sell above the point of control and buy below it. But I think a better opportunity, my only opportunity to sell this would be up at maybe 30, if that were to hold. Or if I just see these things start stacking up and plowing down like we saw previously. But anyway, it's 8 o'clock, 8:30. That's right around European close. I'm going to go ahead and pause everything, and I got to change, and I'll be back. Okay, 8:42 a.m. Pacific time. I'm still on the 7th of April. We have pushed through on the 10-year. We pushed through by 2 ticks. There was a bit of a back and forth going on here. You could see like a little volume node developing. Buyers are trying to take this thing back. From what I can tell, it's just sellers absorbing all the buying at this level. You can kind of see the disparity in the volume. 10,000 total, but 6,000 on the buy side. Sellers are just suppressing any sort of buying. That said, Ultra Bond and the 30-year are still way off the lows. I mean, way off, but Ultra Bond's way off, but the 30-year is still several ticks off the lows. So you would expect these guys over here on the left to be making lows before they make lows over here in the 10-year. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen, but just as a series of events as far as what you'd expect to happen first, second, third. I'm not going to jump into this thing. As of this point, I just don't like it yet. So, yeah, look at all that. It's soaking it right up. So my suspicion is that we push through the lows. So that's kind of where we're at. So we got 6. We're up about 13 ticks on the day. So it's getting close to 9 o'clock. Typically, where I kind of look at doing other things with my day. Not that there's much else to do. It's raining, quarantine, all that nonsense. So I don't know, but for now, I think we'll just pause this thing and kind of sit back and wait. It's still sitting on the hands as far as what I'm seeing here. We did have European close, so that might help with getting this thing to turn around a little bit. But we'll see what happens. I don't mind if we do kind of start busting up, and I see all these products start lifting all at the same time. And see buying aggression. I could pay up again in this area, and hopefully we can get this thing to push back up into the previous profile. But yeah, it looks like it's still starting to push down. They pushed through that volume node. It's definitely on the sell. If you don't want to be on the sell side, for sure. So I'll be back. Okay, 8:53 a.m. Just coming back online here because we're continuing to push down. Sellers are definitely in control at this point. We're coming up against this large bid here at 16. And I just wanted to see if it would trade. Definitely due for a pullback in all these markets. You can see how thin the Ultra Bond at 30-year are. And kind of while we're waiting here, you could see at 19 where we had that back and forth. And this is why I have this total at bid and ask showing on the platform, is because I want to be able to see who's in charge here, because when we're at that level and you see this volume node start to develop, you don't know if it's buyers absorbing sellers or vice versa. And this kind of lets you know that it was sellers that were absorbing all the buying at that level because of the disparity here. You can see what was happening. So that just gives me a reference. That's why I like to have this up. I don't know why I really have it up in the 30-year, because you see less of that behavior, at least from what I can tell. So thus far we had 500 go down into 16. It actually traded and it didn't pull off. The bid beefed up there. So we'll kind of keep an eye on that and see what happens. I want to clean all this up. It could be a roadblock. You see that all the time. There is an enormous amount of selling pressure though, so they could just completely take that out and keep going. So it's not any reason to just jump in front of it. But if it does linger here for quite some time, like 10, 15 minutes, or if you do see this thing kind of push up a couple ticks and then fall back in, it might be a reason to go ahead and buy it. Like I said, we're definitely due for a retracement back up into the previous low in the 30-year, which would be 9, 10, 11, 12. Also in the 10-year. But we want to see them test this thing several times, at least I do, without wiping it out. Because this is like a steamroller, you don't want to just jump in front of it. So they'll see if this thing falls back into 16.5. Just because I already have a couple solid trades under my belt, I'm not really going to pay up for this. I'm willing to take a couple tick loss, but not anything more than that, I don't think. I almost want to let this just trade a little bit more down here and see exactly what happens when they test this again. We'll just give this a shot. We'll see if we can get a fill here. Okay, we got filled, and it stayed bid, so that's good thus far. I think a good target for this would be right around 20.5. Wouldn't be surprised if eventually this pushes up into, like I said, back into the profile. But for this trade, I think I'd be happy with just retracing back up to resistance. This might not hold, but it's worth a shot. I mean, we got 19,000 versus 500. It's about even both sides. It seems like the Ultra Bond and 30 are responding more to what's happening in the ES. And not necessarily what's happening in the 10-year. As far as the roadblock they're putting up here, I'm going to change out my stop loss to a market order because I don't want to get slipped if this thing does pop through. Not to say I won't get slipped anyway, but if a better shot when it's just a market order. Still got the 5-year above this line here. That's good. It's giving me a little bit of hope. Like I said, if this starts to pull off, it starts to get weaker and weaker, then I'll bail on this sucker. Although I wouldn't be surprised if it did actually pop through a couple ticks and then shoot right back up. Seen that happen as well. So there's some pretty good size up here on the offer as we move up. We traded at 18. You had 135 hit up into it, and it didn't pull off at all. So if buyers are actually going to retrace this thing back up, they're going to have to really earn it. At least that's what I've seen thus far. I would think that as this thing falls back in a tick or two like it just did, that it would cause buyers to kind of step up because it gives them an opportunity to jump in here after you've seen a little bit of 2 or 3 tick, rise in what's happening. But it's not uncommon for the 10-year to bust this level like this, like trade a range and then come down and then not retrace the whole thing. That someone will put up a firewall, kind of like what you see down here for buyers. They'll put up a firewall here for sellers and just hold it until it either pops down through the lows, but it doesn't necessarily always get back up to where the range is. I've seen that a few times. That's really just holding down all the people that went long up here. There, if they held through this whole, drop, and they're waiting for a retracement to try to scratch their trade, when they see this thing start to go back and forth down here, and they realize, like, holy shit, this thing's not coming any higher, I better get out of this thing. And so they start puking out too. $27,000 traded right here and only 600 down. You got to think that's worth a shot, right? So as you can see, we finally got the push up. Thankfully, technically 19.5 was the previous low. If you look at it, it was made back at 7:40 a.m. So that might be why we're seeing a little bit of pushback and stalling here. And I'm not really interested in letting this thing come back on me, really at all. So it looks like they tried right there and they couldn't quite do it. So I will be quick to pull this off if we can't get up through here. It looks like you got, that's fine, I'll just take that off there. Five ticks on that one, that's good. What does that put me on total for the day? 18? 6, 6, 7, yep, 18, okay. 9:30 a.m., I think I'm done. Hope everybody's trading well out there and staying healthy.